I don't know. Being that I've never been anybody else, uh, I don't know what it feels like to be Phil Keaggy because I've never been anybody else. And that way, if I was somebody else, then I could tell you what it was like to be Phil Keaggy because I'd have a perspective. I'm a pretty average human being, you know. I wake up in the morning and I have a day and it's filled with things to do, and I'm grateful to God for life, for breath, for family and loved ones, friends. I'm thankful for music. I'm grateful for the instruments God's let me have to make music with. I'm grateful for the melodies that go round and round in my head, and I love the idea that what I do brings some hope and some happiness to people, and that's basically it. You know, I'm extremely grateful for my wife Bernadette. I'm grateful for a record company such as Myrrh for really getting behind this new music of mine. And so what's it feel like to be me? Well, in my memory, because I've got a fairly good memory and I'm grateful for that. And my whole livelihood and everything, my whole thing depends on my memory. And of course I do get forgetful sometimes, but I remember life without Jesus, you know, years and years ago, you know. And yet God knew I was searching for him. And through various events that took place in my life, around my life, in my family's life, you know, he brought me to himself and gave me hope and gave me the total sense of his grace and forgiveness and rebirth. And so it feels good to be Phil Keaggy. I wouldn't want to be anybody else, really, because it's taken me 47 years just to get used to who I am. If I want to be anybody else, it would be someone who is more like Jesus, because he's my hero. You know, he's the one that I look to and see as the one who loved unconditionally, and the one that I see who just lived the life, you know, the real life. He lived it. I know that this album of mine, which is self-titled, there's a lot of me in it. There's a lot of I, me, mines in it, you know. I think it's because the hardest part of making an album is coming up with the title. You know, we could have taken one of the songs and used the title from a song, and that works. You know, many of my albums are that way, from What a Day Love Broke Through to True Believer, Getting Closer, Town to Town, Play Through Me. They're all, you know, titles from songs. Sunday's Child was another one. Find Me in These Fields was another one. I guess there's been a lot of albums where the title of a song became the album title. But my record company and my management felt that a self-titled album would be a good idea since I never had one. And because this album is quintessentially, as a songwriter, what I am, you know. And I collaborated with a lot of people, co-wrote a lot of songs with people on this album. But the music is all my music, to all, is it 11 songs, I think it is. Nobody's been able to really say, well, he is this, because I'm really not a rocker, although I can play rock. I'm not a real folkster, although I can play some folk, you know. I'm not exclusively a fingerstyle guitarist, but I do that, you know. I just do a bit of this and a bit of that, and that's been my whole life, you know. I've been known primarily as a guitarist, and not so much as a singer-songwriter. And then an album such as this comes out, and people will get to hear a better vocalist than I've been, I believe. I think this album holds really good vocals, you know. I mean, I was very relaxed doing the vocals. It was a good season for me. We did True Believer album in 94, came out in 95, and they, I think, spent some time in, you know, promoting that album. And the next album they wanted from me was instrumental, which was 220, which was recorded a year later. But I was writing songs, you know, and songs I really believed in vocally. And it wasn't until I came over to Myrrh where I had the opportunity to do a full vocal album again. I mean, I don't know if anyone would say it's my best. I have a friend in Pennsylvania named Neil who, every time I make an album, he goes, "Phil, this is your best," you know. So then the next one comes out and he says, "Phil, this is your best," you know. But maybe that's what true fans and friends would say. Well, yeah, I started playing guitar in 61. Really got more of a hold of it in 62. And so that's quite a long time ago. My first recording, from what I recall, was 66 with a band called the Squires. We did a 45 single. And there are people out there who have them. They've actually come up and shown me these records. And then I was with another band called the New Hudson Exit, and we did a single on Date Records. And Date was a subsidiary of Columbia. So 67 we did another single, and then I formed a band with a friend of mine named John Safara, and we started a group called Glass Harp in 1968. We were in 11th grade in high school. Had a couple different bass players, and then in 69 Daniel Pecchio joined our group, and we were a three-piece group and got a contract with Decca Records back in 70. So we did our first album in 1970, and people show up with it at concerts. A company out in Germany called Line or Linecka, they put out these Glass Harp CDs for a short time. So they're pretty collectible, I understand, and hard to come by. But it's my first expression of my Christian witness through music on recording was starting with the Glass Harp in 1970, so that's 28 years ago. Well, I do it because I love music, and I love to play and sing, and I love to create, and it's been what God has enabled me to do as my job, as my vocation, and I would hope as a ministry to people. I won't say my ministry, you know, because I feel that if there is ministry, it's something that has happened by way of grace, and I don't want to presume that I have a ministry, but I feel that what I have done, you know, at various times in my life, you know, has brought a blessing to people and brought some hope and encouragement. And actually there have been conversions, you know, people who have actually turned around from their way of life and embraced Jesus and followed him and experienced God's grace in their lives and salvation. And that's the greatest thing, because really what we're really about is, you know, the business of heaven is saving souls, really. That's the joyful business of heaven. Because it says that all the angels in heaven above rejoice when there's a soul saved. And there's more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than 99 just persons who need no repentance. And I've read a good deal of C.S. Lewis, and now and then come back to some of the things he's written about. And it seemed to me that was his priority. As intellectual as he was, and he was a professor in college, Don, you know, he was extremely intelligent and brilliant, and well learned man, and he knew the most important thing was the salvation of a soul. That's the business of heaven. And so I think, well, you know, I've done 8 instrumental albums, and Of course, you won't hear the gospel in those albums, but you'll hear, hopefully, music that I think is spiritual, because I think music is spiritual. I think it communicates something. It can bring peace. It can drive demons away, as in the case of David and Saul. I would love to be remembered as a musician who, when I played, there was a sense that I played for God, and I played for joy, and I played for, just the hope of communicating something good to people. That Jesus loves us, and that he teaches us to love one another. Because Jesus loves the church, and he loves us and he cares for us, regardless of our stumblings and our failings. He loves us and wants to carry us on, bring us to that place where we're with him forever. And he wants to teach us to love unconditionally as well. Hence the song, Above All Things, which is a song of commitment and devotion between husband and wife. That's what that song's about. He's the one who listens to us when we can speak or when we can't speak. That the blood of Christ is a reality in Beneath the Bloodstained Lintel, that song. That it cost God everything, in giving us his Son. And that's how much he proved he loved us. As it says in the book of Romans, that God demonstrated his own love toward us, and that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And so that agape love, that unconditional love, that love that is the greatest expression, is what I hope to communicate through the album. Also, that there are songs on there that are more light fare, like I Have Days Like You, which is a song about my insecurities and my efforts to better myself and look good, to get the approval of my kind, the record company industry and all that stuff. I wrote that after a period of feeling a little discouraged that I wasn't quite making the grade as a songwriter, So I wrote that song just to express that, I struggle with those things just like anybody. Everybody else has something different that they struggle with. Well, I was going through my doubts in terms of, the music thing, and the industry and all that. And finally I was convinced, just I think primarily through God and through the encouragement of my audiences where I play, that you keep doing what you're doing, Phil, because it matters. My favorite song in this album? Under the Grace is very special to me, because grace is the greatest thing that I've come to discover in this life that I'm living, and that's the grace of God, of course. And how he's expressed it to me through, through like Bernadette, and through stories of people who've been courageous and selfless and self-sacrificing, and knowing that the hungry in heart who are seeking a place and a home, they'll find that when they find and discover for themselves this grace that God holds out to them. So to me, I think melody-wise and lyrically, that's a very important song. Well, the album opens up with a tune called A Sign Came Through a Window, and I had my little, here, I'll get my guitar, hang on. Okay. This is a little cheap guitar. It's this, it's a good guitar though. And so it's usually up in the living room, and so one night I just picked it up and I went right on this guitar. I went. hey, that's a good little groove. So I brought the same guitar down and made the demo with it. And actually, it ends up on the final album as well. It's not an expensive guitar because it had that feeling, of the original idea. So with the strings look like they're about 8 years old on it. And, so I went down and I just put down a drum loop and put this guitar on. I didn't have any lyrics for it, and I started scatting, and like this. I didn't have any words. So what I did was I recorded that. And I said, oh, that sounds like, let the sad eyes of former days, worries in the winter blow away. I picked out words out of my mind that sounded like the scatting I was doing, where I went, like that. A sign came through a window, take a look and see how I'm amazing what you know now. And this part's kind of an Elvis Presley part. Remember the song, Very Old Friend, came by today. Anyway, I didn't sing that, but I just went in, what you know now, what you know now. So the words, I just kind of really phonetically found words that matched the scatting thing I did throughout the whole thing. And but they were words that, like, I thought, hey, these have meaning though, and if you see what's it? Let me say it in your if you want a life and you're out of luck, how in heaven's name will you win tonight? The whole idea that when you got the real thing, you never have to knock on wood. The whole, cross your fingers, knock on wood. That's what the song's kind of about. It's like the sign comes through the window, and that to me means that God gets his point across to you in the most unexpected ways. And so, and the tunes also just harks on the idea of honesty and looking beyond this life and where we're living. And so it's, and there it is. Okay, everybody, this is Phil Keaggy. Hi, how are you? This is the easy part of the whole interview. Although Michelle's been very, very kind, understanding, patient. And this is my Olson acoustic. I really love this old guitar. It was built for me by Jim Olson in 1984. I also use Lanyon's guitars. They're all great guitars, Lanyon's and Olson's. Okay, now this song here is called I Have Days Like You. And my original demo of this song, I was trying to make a song that sounded kind of like the music the kids listen to these days. I was trying to sing it like, if I portray myself blessed with it. No, I don't think that's not what I mean. But anyway, I don't know. I started the song in C minor, didn't I? Right here. So I'm going C minor, G sharp, D sharp, G sharp, G, F minor, B flat, back to C minor, G sharp, D sharp, G sharp, G, F minor, B flat, and chorus is in D, walks down. See, how'd I go? I have days like you, stuck in a rut, feeling the blues, and I have days like you, just holding my ground. That's what it was. Forgot about the B minor part. D, walk it down. G, E minor, A, B minor, E7, A, G on the bass, D, then, which is kind of a G7, add something. I don't know. So that's it, basically. And so, if I portray myself blessed with it, if I display myself trying to show I meet the approval of my kind, if I pretend to have all I need, it's never intentional. I should have mentioned I'm not always feeling just fine. I have days like you, stuck in a rut, feeling the blues, and I have days like you, just holding my ground. If I defend myself hastily, if I recommend myself, call for security, for the renewal of my mind. Actually, I used to sing, for the removal of my mind, and I didn't want anybody to take me literally. There is a greater will to be done, in the name of the Father and of the Son, with all my intentions behind. I have days like you, stuck in the mud, feeling the blues, and I have days like you, just holding my ground. Life leaves us to choose, how will we finish, win or lose? Oh, I have days like you, and these days just come around. Now the instrumental is in C. That's G sharp to C6, C. Days like you, stuck in the mud, feeling the blues. Oh, I have days like you, just holding my ground. Life leaves us to choose, how will we finish, win or lose? And I have days like you, and these days just come around. Days like you, stuck in a rut, feeling the blues. Oh, I have days like you, just holding my ground. Oh, yeah. There you have it. That's sort of a basic song, isn't it? Well, a lot of chords in it, I must say.